slashficking.
Hooray! This was it started out as a $400 donation from a few different people, including Dick's. And we added it to the group challenges, and it's raised quite a few $1,000s.
You added it as a $1,000 challenge marker, and it has to date raised almost $17,000 in donations.
Kroze and I have not seen
in the
slashfic.
So the slashfic's right there.
And Fugi will be narrating.
Okay. Kroze, you're on the third paragraph. That's your first line, and
so
Ashton, you're on the fourth.
Okay.
So
you can we enlarge it a bit?
This microphone?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
yeah,
you guys talk into that microphone. So get closer. You're really quiet. You need to be right underneath it.
Well, we're acting it out too.
Right here?
Well,
Well, this is
So like right
we're
behind
fine.
this line.
All
is
right.
it this microphone that we're?
This is the microphone.
Okay.
So,
And
does this have a
Can we
name?
increase the font on
I
it a
have
little bit?
no idea.
Make up a name. Make up a name on the spot. What?
Like blowing over.
You've read this before, so.
Okay.
I kind of skimmed it.
Okay. Well, then you know the. What name would you give to this?
Oh no.
Backside of the
That's
moon
not
base.
part of the challenge.
Okay. So.
Why?
Okay.
Can we name this Y?
Why?
Yes.
All right. You ready?
Okay.
Glancing over at Ashton, Kroze gulped. It was going on 3 days of bussing, and Ashton hadn't made his move yet. But he'd been challenged to up the ante from last year's Kroze and Ashton cavort video, and Kroze knew it was only a matter of time. At least Fugiman was sitting between them in the crow's nest. Without him, they'd have been far too close. There was too much potential for their hands to brush together as they moved to kick someone from the chat, for one foot to nudge another as one of them moved to stand up. It made Kroze's face flush and his heart pound, and he knew he'd had to do whatever it took to get rid of that feeling, or he'd go mad from it. These feelings had started out ambiguous and easy to ignore. When Mike Lunsford drew the anime pictures of him and Ashton, he had found it hilarious and put it out of his mind, for the most part. But during the mod song on Friday night, when he'd clutched Ashton's strong shoulders, he realized he truly meant it when he told him he'd be there, no matter what. And finally had come that irrational surge of jealousy when Ashton had gone to sit in James's lap.
This is fantastic.
You belong to me!
He'd blurted almost involuntarily, and blushed as soon as the words had passed his lips.
You wish.
Ashton had replied, and had wrapped his arms around
You
James,
can be my James stand-in.
snuggling in. The following minutes were mercifully fuzzy in Kroze's mind. He recalled an offhanded comment from James about how he could fall asleep in Ashton's arms, and how he'd clenched his fist so hard his knuckles creaked when at the comment,
James is a very generous lover.
Ashton had nodded emphatically and mouthed
Oh yes.
at the camera. Absorbed in his confusion over these feelings, Kroze barely noticed how much time had passed today. Maybe he would have continued to sit there forever, lost in the befuddling palpitations of his own heart. But around 4 a.m., Graham called his attention.
All right,
Graham said.
you guys should get some sleep. Fuji can hold down the fort while you're gone.
Blinking, Kroze pulled his fingers from the keys and stood. He and Ashton made his way back to the door. Kroze managed to quiet the churning in his stomach until just outside the moon base, Ashton said.
Sorry, I lost my place.
It's down near the bottom.
Hey, can I ask a favor?
Sure.
Kroze said.
What is it?
I need you to do some coding. Some last-minute fixes, you know. Can I get your input? What you think will work with the chat, and what won't?
No problem.
Kroze said. He looked away, not sure why he was so absurdly pleased by the request, except that maybe it was because it meant Ashton really valued his opinion, and that was enough to send blood rushing to Kroze's cheeks. But he still went with Ashton back to James's place. Everything was fine. Everything was normal until they got to the computer area. They had chucked off their hats and jackets at the door, and Kroze was far too conscious of his hat hair. He ran a hand through it, and sat down in the desk chair. Kroze, you have a line.
So, about that code.
He began, jiggling the mouse to wake the monitor up. Suddenly, he felt hot breath on his neck. He swallowed and could not find the strength to turn around, but he could feel Ashton behind him, looming. A hand gripped the back of his swivel chair. Kroze was embarrassed to realize that just from his peripheral vision, he knew its strength and form to be Ashton's. Then, the problem worsened drastically. Ashton's other hand clamped on top of his own, guiding it from the mouse. At first, Kroze's fingers tensed, clinging desperately to the only object in space he was at all sure of now. The world had become Ashton's proximity, the warmth of his surprisingly soft palm on the back of Kroze's own hand.
I have a little confession.
Ashton murmured in his ear.
There is no code. I just wanted to be sure you stayed up with me.
Kroze relinquished the mouse. His mouth was dry.
Oh? What for?
You've been avoiding me, not meeting my eyes, sending messages through Fuji instead of talking to me. I want you to tell me why.
Well...
Kroze began, scuffing at the floor with his shoe and only barely preventing himself from wringing his hands.
It's nothing. It's just... I don't know. Ever since last year, and what happened between us, and it's stupid, and I don't understand, but I can't get it out of my head. It's like something changed, and I just can't make things go back to normal. Except, I don't know, somehow I like this new, the way I feel, and I don't mean feel, but just sort of, I just can't stop thinking about that kiss, and us, and I don't even know what I want.
Ashton, smiling softly, took Kroze's chin in his fingertips.
Oh, no. I don't like the way this is going.
Tilted his face up until their eyes made contact. Kroze opened and closed his mouth, but no more sound escaped from his lips.
Anthony,
Ashton said.
I know.
He slowly pulled Kroze to him and planted a soft kiss on his lips, the promise of more to come smoldering in his eyes.
I need an adult.
Kroze whispered.
I'm an adult.
Ashton murmured back, gently taking the unresisting Kroze by the hand and leading him into the bedroom. He closed the door behind them, and they had a bussing good game of chess.